My name's Chris, so I work here in engineering technical scientist. So I'll talk to you guys today about how we're building our application front ends using a tool called Relay. So a bit of background about kind of where things are going. Oh, a bit of background about Relay first. So Relay's slide. That's right. Okay, sorry, one second. There we go. So a bit of background about kind of where we are with GraphQL at Sainsbury's. So we adopted GraphQL about a year ago on a project here in Manchester, and since then, since last year, we've deployed 3 different services using GraphQL in production. So we've got back-end services that are driving products, we've got some kind of full-stack applications, one on mobile, one on the web. And it's been a really positive experience. I think everyone who's used it so far has been really keen on seeing it used, and hopefully next year, if we're still kind of talking about that sort of stuff, then we'll see loads of adoption. If you guys are interested in how we do GraphQL, we have an engineering blog. We've written about how we kind of work GraphQL there, and a minor plug, if you do want to talk about jobs, we are hiring. We have some very cute stickers if you want some stickers, because everyone with stickers, and that's the only plug I'll do. So Relay. So Relay is a JavaScript framework for building data-driven apps with React. But what does that actually mean in practice? I think with Relay, it's really important to look at where it came from, the context of when it was built and why it was built, to kind of see what the benefits are. So this is from the React homepage. The declarative views make it more predictable, easy to debug. So one of the big kind of core insights of React when it was came out, not the first people to do this, but was that UIs are really great to write if you treat them as basically functions on your data. So data in, view out. And when your data changes, or you say it changes, you run this function again, and you get a different view at the end of it. And this is really cool because you can kind of get some unidirectional data flow, you get some nice things like immutability, and you can compose those functions into a larger, more complex UI using components. So that's kind of great on the front end side. But as kind of short for one of the really good things about GraphQL is it lets you do that declarative rather than imperative type programming to create data as well. So rather than the old style in say Redux or REST saying get this, then this, then this, gathering your data, sending it back to your front end, you can now say this is all the data I want, get it to my front end. But that kind of middle layer isn't quite there. You've got your data, you've got your front end, how do you get your data dependencies and get that data and get it to your front end? And that's where Relay sits. There's kind of 3 principles that underpin it. It's declarative, so I mentioned before. You can get what you asked for, you don't have to say get this and this and this. It's co-located, so the data you need, or the definition of the data you need, sits next to the stuff that's going to use it. Oops, and it's dynamic as well, so it supports updates, and it will let you update your UI and keep consistency. Let's dive into these a little bit more. So the discovery side, we've talked about this a little bit before, and Sean talked about it a little bit, so you get what you asked for. And in Relay terms, this is very much, you say what data you need, where it needs to be. Relay will determine how and when to fetch that data in the most efficient way it can be. So kind of, you say, I want all this data into these views, Relay goes and fetches it for you. On the co-located side, what this means is that your GraphQL queries sit alongside your components rather than in a data fetching layer. So you're not having to change this kind of API side of layer to get data into your flows. It's right next to things that use it. It's kind of composed and aggregated up into a single query. And so dynamic as well. So you can update your state and automatically be consistent in your UI. So say if you add a new post or a new comment or something, your state will be updated and you don't have to go and refetch stuff or pull it back into your state. And because of the strong set stuff that GraphQL has, you can do some really cool stuff like optimistic updates. So this might be, say you've got a really slow operation, let's calculate something quite large. You can fire off a mutation. You can be optimistic and assume that's going to come back in a specific way. You can update the UI based on that happening. When the response then comes back, you can say, well, if it's different, update the UI again. If it's what you expect it to get, great. And what it means is you get really snappy, responsive UIs, even on slow connections. So how does Relay do this? So there's 3 parts that really tie into how Relay provides these principles. There's the Relay compiler, the Relay runtime, and React Relay. So Relay compiler, when you're building Relay, they kind of realised there was some functionality they needed as part of the GraphQL spec, but what they didn't want to do was make you have to write a good GraphQL backend that kind of conform to these things. So they've got a relay compiler, and it takes annotated relay style GraphQL queries and cross-compile them into spec compliant GraphQL. So you can use a relay front end on any spec compliant backend. The runtime is essentially the low-level kind of nuts and bolts API of getting, updating data. So it provides fully featured GraphQL runtime. It can do reading, mutation, subscription, file queries, all this sort of nice stuff, and kind of gives a really nice low-level API to interfacing with the GraphQL backend. So React Relay essentially ties these two things together. You have your compiler to kind of go, hey, these are my queries. You have the runtime to go fetch it, and React Relay basically gives you a really nice sort of high-level product-based API for getting that data, defining what queries you need, what data components need, and getting that data into those components. So that's all the talking I'm going to do. What I wanted to show you guys was, hopefully, a working implementation of a fairly simple relay kind of front end. So I'm going to jump out of this now. So what I've got here is a really simple sort of React-based blog. So it's got React router, it's got some blog posts. You can click into those blog posts and get some stuff. At the moment, this is all kind of faked, so you get the same title every single time. So we want to actually back this from some data. I'm just going to sit down because I don't want to stand up for the next 50 minutes. So currently, we're backing this data from...
Chris, can you make it bigger?
Yeah, of course. Sorry. Well, can everyone hear me at the back?
Yeah.
Fine, thank you. Okay, that's what I was before, sorry. So, just make it a bit bigger here. So WebSun doesn't let me just make it bigger, unfortunately. Is that big enough?
A little bit bigger, maybe.
How's that?
Yeah,
Flashing.
that's it.
I can see a thumbs up from the back, so. There we go, how's that? So then we've got a React app. It's using React router that has some material UI stuff in there. And it's got a home page and it's got a kind of detail page. That's all back from this JSON file, or sort of JSON object. So it's not dynamic at all. So we've got here a API that's got some posts in it. So this is a GraphQL query, we can just post get back. What we're going to do is we're going to hook up this to our front end. I'm going to try and build that live now, so it works. So if we look into our home page, we have some posts. Those posts have an ID and a post detail. That post has a title and ID. So we know what our data dependencies are. But how do we go get those things? So kind of the root level of every relay page is what you call a query renderer. So we start building on those. So what do you think? So we import React, we do the React application. And we import our query renderer. That's some utility stuff. So we have a component container which returns a query renderer. We still update our index to make sure we're using that instead of our fake stuff before. But if anyone's got any questions as I'm going through, please do shout out or put your hand up. Happy to kind of stop and answer stuff as we go. So what does a query render actually do? So a query render takes three things. We refresh this, we kind of see what the first error should do. Pop the home page. Actually delete that rather than pressing enter. So it's going to tell us we need to have a render problem. So the first thing you can do is you can render out something. So go render.
Chris, can you make the browser bigger as well?
Yeah, of course. Yep. That's going to break, sorry, so just put my syntax. So here we can say, for now, let's just render out that. So there we go, rendering something, but that's not much use, so we want some data into this. So we can build a back query here that says, okay, we want a list of posts with a title and ID for our page. So how do we get that query into this? So the second thing is a GraphQL query. This uses a utility from that relay that lets you basically define your queries in your code. So I've cheated a little bit and set up some stuff in Babel to kind of transpile this. There's some really good docs on the website as to how to get started, but it's really boring to see me set up Babel config, so I'm not going to. So we can write a query. It's important to notice that naming matters in Relay. So it does a lot of compilation step to pull in your data where it needs it, and it gets quite finicky about what you have to name stuff. Generally module name and what it's doing. So in this case, we'll take that query. I'm going to put in our posts. That's great, we've got a query, we've got something to render. If I go back to the application, it's not finding that query. So I mentioned all the relay compiler runs. Essentially you have to run a separate stage to get those compiler queries and kind of compile them into a single kind of spec compliant query. So you run that with a relay compiler. I'm going to pull it down. So this needs a schema, which we'll pull down by URL. So we get our lovely GraphQL schema. It's the STL sort of defined file. And then we can run our compiler that looks at that schema, it looks at our source, and automatically compiles any queries we've got. I just need to update this to ignore this file. It's not ready for it yet. So we see I've got our home container query.js that's been compiled now to proper spec compliant query. If we reload this again, we'll still got an error. So the final piece of protocol query renders is you need to tell Relay how to go get this data and where to get it from. You do this with the environment. What is this? So this is something we need to define. Again, the docs are really good in this, so I'm going to take you through it really quickly, but I'm not going to go into too much detail. So create a new file. I'm going to import some stuff from Relay. So the environment takes a network and a store. So the network defines how to go get your data, the store defines where to put it and where to store it inside the application. The store is really simple. There's only one implementation at the moment. The idea is that these will be pluggable in the future, but right now it's very much just a boilerplate. So we can say, okay, store equals new store, inside that new record source. This basically defines where our stuff is going to live. Oops, got the right thing. Cool, so we've got a store. Our network's more complicated. So basically what you need to do is import the network and define one with network create. What network create takes is a function that returns a promise that basically contains the data that your query is asking for. So again, I'm not going to go into this in too much detail. I've got one prepared that I'm going to cheat with. So this is basically a really simple fetch query that uses fetch to go get data from our API. You can have any sort of headers here, so once you want authentication before, you can have bearer tokens here, whatever you want. It kind of takes the text of your query and returns some JSON input. So I can pass this into my network layer and export the environment. Now hopefully I should be able to import this. I can type. Whack it there. So now what you should hopefully get is waiting for a dent. Great. It's not doing anything yet. When we reload this page, we can see it's doing a query to our GraphQL API and get our data back. So kind of last piece of puzzle is getting that data from the query renderer into your components. So this render function takes a couple of prompts. it takes an error. So tool buffer arguments takes an error, takes a prompt. What you can do with this is a few things. So if we get an error back, we know what our data fetching has failed. So we can say, okay, if error, if we shouldn't see too much during this. We can say otherwise, if we have props, we know our data's got back to us, and we can say, okay, return our component with our post name, which basically comes from props dot whatever this is. So here we've got props dot post. So if I pull that in. Another error. So what's going on here is you're asking for data, you're rendering something, but at this point no data has come back to it. So you kind of need the third state, which is to say there's no errors, there's no data yet, so we're still waiting for it. So here we can just say turn it on the screen. And there's our data. That's coming direct from the relay stuff from our GraphQL backend into our application and being pulled from our data. You can see if I slow this down on purpose. Reload it. We should get a loading page, and then our data should drop into the application once it's finished. There we go. So you do some nice, quite nice stuff. You can wait for your data to come back and kind of still sort some information. But we mentioned before, so this is the carriage side of it, but this isn't co-located at all. So say if we want to add something to our post list, say we want to say how many comments each post has, we need to go into here and change our data, but then change our component here. So you're having to change dependencies to something that isn't affected to it. So say if we want to say here, and pull that from. It's very easy to put that in there and not have the data you need at this point in time. This point we're going to break, we should break. Oh, didn't have slow G. So we're not getting anything there because that's not exist. I'm going to do some type checking here to make sure it's there. Ultimately it's still going to fail. So what we want to do is we want to co-locate this data dependency next to the component. So you do this with what GraphQL calls fragments. So these are basically subsections of a query that you can define on types. So in this case, we know we need a title and ID on some comments. And you might do this slightly nice, you might do comment count, so you have to pull a different field in, but for this, we'll just do this a bit dirtily. So now you'll see this working. Hopefully. So 2 comments, we want to push that dependency up to the code that needs it. So we go into our post list, and we're going to import some more stuff, really. So basically a fragment container takes 2 things. It takes your component you want to wrap. It takes a fragment defined metro. So here we can say fragment, and again the name matters here, post list, and that matters as well. So in this case we want post to pass through to our component, so that's the name of our fragment, second part of it, and that's on post. This is where relay comes in. So this is actually multiple things, it's a list of stuff. So you want to relay this is actually plural. All we need is an ID, title, some comments, that we can count. It's great, and the relay compiler should pick this up. There we go, fantastic. But that's not actually hooked up at this point. We've got a fragment, but it isn't being used. So the last piece of the puzzle is to say in our container, we want to spread our fragment the same way we would with a JSON bit. We want to pull in the post list, posts. Again, there should be updates in here. Fantastic. We shouldn't see any difference. So now what you're doing is saying, okay, this component doesn't care what dependency post needs. Ask the component about that. This defines what it needs, and relay will go and fetch all and provide it to the data user. But we can actually nest these. So again, we've not got comments being used here or being pulled in here. We don't want to do that. So I know item do similar stuff. We can say something again. In this case, it's fragment post list item post. So again, module name, name prop. It's on post again, but it's only one this time. Here we want ID, producing our link here, so we need it. And one our comments. It's important to know that relay won't fetch this twice, so it's defined here, it's defined one above. But it's clever to say, well, there's no point getting it twice, so just have one field. And again, we can go to here and say, well, we need the ID. The rest of it, we can just ask our subcomponent. That would re-render. And now, lost our title. Yeah, there we go. There we go. So now we've got each fragment and the component says, this is what data I need. Relay gets it all down for you. That makes sense? Is there any questions on that bit before I move on? Cool, excellent. So I've cheated a little again for the process, so I'm going to kind of show you a little bit of how you do this more dynamically. So at the moment this is very static. We're saying always get this as posts, put the same data in. If we want to change that based on some information outside the relay, what can we do? So for example, on these pages, we want to pull in post detail based on ID. So again, like I said, I've cheated a little bit here. I've created a kind of re-ready query renderer. It has a bit more complex query. So Sean showed you before how you can use variables. So we've got an input with post where. And the other thing that relay takes is some variables. So here we've got a match object from React Router that has some parameters in it. So what we can do is say, here's our query, it takes these variables. When you get a different ID from your router, you can pass that along to the input and you get the post to match it. So all we do now is wrap these up. If I can say it, which we can do as quick as I can. And cheat a little bit, so I can copy and paste. So again, this should be very clear pattern by now. Title. So we don't need an ID here, so that's all put it down. To comments, so the comment list will do the same thing. Create fragment, comment list, comments, on comment. Again, it's plural, so. There's loads of annotation you can use. These are probably the most simple ones. So multiple things. You can annotate something about connections if you're using those, and really can use some quite powerful stuff based on those annotations. But for now, we'll just use most simple one. So these comments we need ID, content, and author. So hopefully, if that's all compiled properly. Yep, I need to see what it's on. So we'll kind of help you a little bit compiling. On the environment, let's just fix that. So I spelled it wrong? No.
Is that the right rule?
No. So this is where I cheat and fast forward a little bit. So assume that worked, and what I'm going to do is just reset my work. And here's what I made earlier. Just compile that.
need to restart your web.
Of course, yes, of course. Thank you very much. So there we go. So that's imagine I've just written that live. Pretend I wrote stuff. So you can see now if we look into there, we have the triangles pulled through, we have a process, we have a comments defined with dynamic rows being passed into it. So that's great. When we fetch data, we pull out components. What happens if we want to make a change to something? What if we want to mutate our data? So this is where mutations come in. So in our form, which is, I'm sorry, really quick and dirty, we've got a handle submit event. And then this, what I'll do is I'll call a function called createComment. And basically this is how your mutations work. You use them as functions like whatever else. But inside that function, you do some quite good stuff. So I'm just going to remove some of that fun stuff. From now, show how it builds up. So you can see we've got, again, some really familiar stuff. Here we use a mutation from our environment, so we really knows how to go get this data and how to interact with the backend. And we've got a mutation defined. This creates a comment based on data that gets passed in. It takes an ID, takes some content and all. And there's a function that says the same thing, and author, content, post ID. What we do is we define the variables it's going to use here, based on the data, in our variable block, in the same way we do with our fetching. And then in our computation, we use our environment, the mutation, and the variables. So we're passing stuff into the GraphQL query in the same way that we do with the sort of the fetching code. So this should hopefully be compiled. Great. So I run something on here, adding a better comment. We get a comment, but nothing happens. So I refresh this. It goes in there, but the UI isn't automatically updated. So you can have to tell really sometimes how to do this. There is ways of setting this up so it works automatically. It's a bit fiddly. I will be completely honest and say the docs on this are pretty shocking. There's some great examples around the internet, but it's kind of built on really one stuff which is very flux-based. It kind of says here's some configs that will make it work magically. What I'm going to show you is how to do it kind of in a manual way, which you can still do, which is a bit more controlled but yet more work and has a bit of unpleasantness attached to it. So what you can do in mutation is you can take bulk data. What this does is it has access to the store that we defined earlier. In the store we can go get stuff out of the store and change the records. It's important to note that this kind of, you have to query it like you would through API a little bit. It's a bit odd to use. It's not just saying get data out of it. So here we're saying get a mutation out of it that we asked for. We're saying get the post that comes on, based on the ID of that post, and get the comments that are linked to it. So this is like the comments field. Then we're creating a new array of comments based on what we just put in, and then assign that back to the post. So it's a bit wordy, it's a bit unpleasant. You can make this happen automatically, but you can need to structure stuff and use connections and do it the right way, which I've not, because it's much easier to demonstrate. So now, hopefully, if I do another comment, you can see the pop into the UI. Great. The last bit of this, which is really cool, I mentioned optimistic updates. So if I can slow my network down really badly, let's say, way. It's going to be running, and the UI's kind of hanging, nothing's happening. You come into a load spinner here, you have to wait till that comes back, and there it is. So it actually makes it a lot faster, a lot more responsive with optimistic updates. So what I do here is we have to define what we think our response is going to look like. So this basically is matched off the same response you have here, so you know what the shape of the stuff you're going to ask for looks like, and you can say, okay, I think, because I know what I've been passing through to my mutation, I'm passing the content, I know the author, don't know the ID because it's not been created yet, but who cares? I can say this is the shape that is probably going to come back from this. I can pass this along. And I can use a optimistic updater that uses the same updater as the pessimistic updater. So So you can, if you want, do things slightly differently here and do different behaviour. In this case, it's the same thing, it's just coming back from us rather than the API. So now if I let's just speed up to actually get access to it. Put it back and forth. Live a second. Quite slow. Now you'll see. It should pop straight to the UI, even though that response is still running. So you can update the UI immediately. It's a really, really cool way to get to these standard responses. You kind of lose that kind of lag a little bit with UIs and make it look really cool. That's pretty much Relay in a nutshell. There's loads more to it, loads more things you can do, subscriptions, all that kind of stuff, but that's fetching data, fetching database and variables, and updating your store. So what you end up with at the end of that is like this. So you can see how I kind of mentioned composability and how you can like create out of things and compose them together. So you can see how you've got a query end at the root and you've got composable things that kind of nest it down. So all those things are stored next to stuff. And that's pretty much it. So if anyone's got any questions, please bring them away. Sure.
Have you compared Relay to Apollo?
Yes, sorry, I'm laughing because I just started to know the slide after this, so first and delete it. So that's probably the biggest question, I think, at the moment, is kind of which one to use. Relay is kind of very particular about what you do with it. So it says, I want things this way. So you saw with kind of your query naming, you want things in this structure, with this naming, and it'll work really well. So it covers some really heavy performance optimizations to make that work, but you have to buy into how it does stuff. I say Apollo is much more pluggable. It's a lot more ease of use focused. It works with Vue, Angular, all sorts of stuff, whereas Relay is pretty much only React. It's technically could be used outside of React, but no one's written adapted yet, I don't think. I think Apollo works really nicely if you're plugging it into an existing application, whereas Relay might make more sense from scratch, but they're both really cool to us. Like, Apollo's got some really cool tools that we use just generally that are completely like not front-end framework dependent, like some of the fetching stuff we're doing, that's Apollo based. There's some really good network layers if you can use Relay, so they're both really good choices, it just depends on the piece. Yeah?
Yeah. I heard some things recently around how kind of using GraphQL, Relay or Apollo kind of potentially replaces Redux or reduces Redux because you've got to do a lot less state management. Do you just wonder, have you found that?
Yes. So we pretty much don't use Redux apart from small bits of state, which I think is where Redux works shines really well. So we do stuff like, to give an example now, we have like filters we store as we kind of click through. That sits in Redux. It sits within that component and kind of doesn't go into global state. But it does, but it's not application of other stuff. It's kind of stuff around that filter. The Relay store kind of replaces Redux in that sense. So it kind of stores it and caches it a little bit. So I haven't really used Redux before, but the people who I know who have seem to much prefer this way of doing things. I'm sure someone here that might talk to you about the difference as well. But cool. Any more questions? Cool. Oh, sorry. Sure.
You said about Apollo and all this. Why did you actually go with Relay?
Why did we Relay? I think back in depth time now. I think at the time it was probably the more blessed option. I think Apollo was a bit newer. Relay seemed a nice way of building things. I've looked at Apollo afterwards, and I generally prefer Relay. I think it structures things really nicely. I think the way it does fragments makes a lot more sense. And the way you kind of set your data up next to the one I was using. I haven't got enough experience with Apollo to say it's like that's better or worse, but that's the one we kind of went with when we first started GraphQL. We're only kind of a year into this ourselves, so we kind of picked one and went with it. So we might try and follow some sort of hack stuff at some point and see how it compares. Sure.
So you've got this in production, right?
Yes.
And presumably when a lot of features you're leveraging there, are you actually, like what, I mean, you kind of touched on at the beginning, but what are the actual kind of, the client-facing websites that are being kind of driven by this? What are the use cases behind them? Like, how did you convince people in the business to let you? Because I'm guessing you already had React and stuff in production, so you could make a case for that. But like, what was anybody here who's works at a big company will have the same question kind of bubbling, where it's just like, oh, what's the journey what was the use case? What was the journey you use to bring people along with you on this journey? Like,
That's a very big question, so I'm going to try to answer that.
you can give me a 30-second.
Yeah, I'll try to answer it.
I don't mind. I don't. You
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
need to do the whole battle.
I want to answer it,
It's
not trying to
okay.
plug Sainsbury's. So on the question of how we kind of were allowed to do it, we're allowed to choose our technologies. We wanted to use that, so we made the case for, hey, this is really cool. I didn't make that case, we made that case, and that went, that sounds really good, yeah, that sounds great. So we tried it out a little bit, spiked it, and then went, yeah, let's just do it. Our use case, we've got a sort of single service where we can probably have multiple front ends hanging off that service. So it makes really strong sense there to say, you've got this GraphQL backend, and we can have different views that kind of use the same data and probably shared components and
So it's a
well.
single data store behind
Yeah,
it.
exactly. In other parts of the business, we've got kind of enterprise level services that use this. So it provides kind of a really nice way of saying, here's how the data should look, and below that it might be ignore about how it fetches that data. But you've got a really clean interface as how it's described, how you interact with it, and you can sub that out with better stuff as you go. So that sort of thing makes complete sense for us. And then there's a mobile app down in college, which I don't know too much about. I think they have similar things. So we kind of all embarked on it at a similar time. We started trying to evangelise it a little bit in the organisation as well, which is getting a bit of traction. So it is a journey.
Cool.
I think having something in production that shows success, even if it's a really small thing, you say, look, this works, so it's a win and it's not, nothing's broken. So
How are you monitoring?
Slight JS new question. Does Relay go hand in hand with React, or do you
Yes.
plug it into other things?
no, it's potentially you can use with other stuff, but it's very much it's written by Facebook. That sounds GraphQL. It's built to work with React, with GraphQL, and sit in those two things. Those three, the way they split it into the three things, conceptually, you could have Relay compile the Relay runtime and Angular Relay or Vue Relay. So that's possible. I just don't think anyone's done it yet. It might happen. We'll see. It might exist. So I don't know about it. So.
What's the level of exposure of the system?
In what way?
Public facing? Was it?
No, it's internal facing. So we've not got any. Yes, we do actually. Sorry, one of the apps is external facing, I think. The other two are internal usage. One was service level, one was straight into implementation. Cool. Thanks very much. I'll put links. Oh, sorry.